She fined me $2,000 for swimming in my own lake. The same lake my grandfather bought in 1947, decades before this HOA even existed. And when I fought back, she tried to put a lien on my house, 15 grand. Like she could just erase 3 generations of my family with a piece of paper. Act 1. The conflict begins. My name's Garrett Steinberg. I'm 44, a mechanical engineer, recently divorced, and at every other weekend, I've got the most important job in the world, being dad to my 8-year-old daughter, Mia. This lake, this old cedar-scented dock, it isn't just property. It's my anchor, my inheritance, my sanity. My grandfather bought it for $800 back in the 40s. 22 acres of Tennessee paradise with spring-fed water so clear you can count the fish 20 feet down. I grew up here, casting lines, listening to his stories. When he passed, he left me something money can't buy. And then enter Brenda. Brenda Kensington Walsh moved down from Connecticut 2 years ago, swooped into Willowbrook Estates with her spotless white BMW, manicured lawn that looked computer-generated, and a smile with all the warmth of a DMV clerk on their worst day. Within 6 months, she was HOA president. 6 months, and our dues jumped from $45 to $180. At first I thought, all right, maybe she's just ambitious. But no, this woman strutted around with a clipboard like she was running a military base. She fined the Henderson kids for having a slip and slide in summer. She cited Mrs. Bennett, our 80-year-old retired teacher, for having excessive garden gnomes. 3. Just 3. So when Brenda marched down my dock one sunny Saturday, heels clacking against the planks like gunshots, I knew trouble had arrived. Mia was casting her line, little tongue poking out in concentration, when Brenda shoved a certified letter at me like it was a weapon. "You're in violation," she said flatly. $2,000. I laughed, thinking it was a joke. But no, she jabbed her finger at the paper. This lake is classified as a community water feature under Covenant 47B. No swimming without board approval. Community water feature. On my property, I pulled out the survey map, the one that showed the boundary stretching 50 feet past the water line. Brenda didn't even glance. She just tore off a violation slip and walked away like she'd won. Mia tugged at my swim trunks, whispering, "Daddy, why can't we swim in our own lake?" That question stuck in my chest like a splinter. Act 2. Escalation and turning point. A week later, the certified letter came. $2. Sudden fine. Itemized like a restaurant bill from hell. Unauthorized recreational use. Failure to obtain permit. Even contempt of HOA authority. Contempt. What was next? Breathing without a permit. I wanted to laugh, but the rage was real. Still, I wasn't the first target. Mrs. Bennett whispered to me that she'd been fined $400 for an unauthorized water feature. It was her late husband's bird bath. The woman was running a protection racket, disguised as community management. That night, I sat at my kitchen table with 3 cups of coffee, digging through Tennessee property law until sunrise, and I found it, the grandfather clause. If your land predates the HOA, their covenants can't touch you. My grandfather's deed, ironclad. So I wrote Brenda a letter, certified mail, return receipt. Legal citations highlighted. It basically said, "Nice try. Brenda, you're wrong. Here's the proof." But instead of backing down, she doubled down, claimed my dock was unsafe, threatened to call the county, hauled in her brother-in-law's law firm to send letters with gold-embossed letterhead. Then came the smear campaign, Facebook posts warning about contamination in my lake, grainy photos captioned, "What lurks beneath," whisper campaigns at the grocery store. Neighbors stopped waving, and I'll admit it, I started to break. One night, after Mia had gone to bed, I sat out on the dock staring at the water, wondering if maybe I should just stop, maybe let her have her way. What if I was ruining my daughter's childhood fighting some HOA tyrant? What if I was the stubborn fool here? I nearly convinced myself to let it go, but then my phone buzzed. The water test results came back. Pristine, cleaner than bottled water, safer than most municipal supplies, and the inspector who checked my dock, he gave it a perfect rating, even laughed, saying, "Your dock is safer than half the marinas I've seen." That lit the fire again. I wasn't crazy. Brenda was, and when I dug deeper, I found her history. In Connecticut, She'd been forced to resign from another HOA after governance irregularities. Same pattern, family contracts, inflated fees, intimidation. I wasn't just defending my lake anymore. I was staring down a professional scam artist. So I started documenting every letter, every fine, every neighbor's story. Mrs. Bennett joined me with her meticulous notes. The Hendersons offered graphic design and social media skills. We formed a quiet coalition, Operation Clipboard Takedown. Brenda thought she was isolating me, but really, she was building her own opposition army. Act 3. The Showdown. The more evidence we gathered, the more desperate she became. First, sabotage. One morning, I found my dock cables cut clean through, boards loosened, ladder bolts gone. My security cameras caught a figure in dark clothes at 2:30 a.m. Body language screaming middle-aged woman trying to look like a teenager. Then harassment. Flyers in mailboxes calling me a disruptive resident. Social media accounts spreading fake screenshots of me threatening neighbors. Then bribery. One night, 9:47 p.m. She showed up on my porch in designer athleisure, fake smile plastered on. Garrett, I think we got off on the wrong foot. I can waive your fines, reduce your dues if you work with me. She promised preferential treatment for friends of the board, and when I asked, and if I don't, her smile dropped. Then you'll find out how difficult life can be. What she didn't know, my cameras recorded every word. The final straw. She threatened a child, Mrs. Bennett's grandson, 14 years old, cornered at school, warned that his grandma might get hurt if she didn't stop helping me. That crossed every line. By the next morning, half the neighborhood was on our side. Parents who'd stayed quiet suddenly understood we weren't fighting over gnomes or mailboxes anymore. We were fighting for our safety. And then came the annual HOA meeting. 7 p.m. Community center packed 43 households. The biggest turnout ever. Fluorescent lights buzzing, folding chairs squeaking. Channel 7 News in the back with their cameras rolling. Deputy Martinez leaning against the wall, arms crossed. Brenda swept in wearing a Navy power suit. Brother-in-law attorney, trailing like a man walking to his own funeral. She called the meeting to order, voice steady, pretending nothing was wrong. I raised my hand. Homeowner participation. She gritted her teeth, had to recognize me. I walked to the front, plugged in my laptop. The projector hummed to life. Slide 1. HOA dues before Brenda, $45 a month. After Brenda, $180. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Slide 2. Invoices. Lawn care quadrupled. Pool maintenance billed through a company registered to Brenda's home address. Legal fees, $18,000, half of it for her brother-in-law's personal divorce. Slide 3. The total, $187,000 siphoned off in just over 2 years. The room erupted, people shouting, "Are you kidding me?" Mrs. Bennett stood, trembling but furious. She threatened my grandson. Brenda tried to scream over the chaos, calling it a conspiracy, accusing me of fabricating records. But I had inspection reports, notarized deeds, financial statutes, all of it in black and white. And then Deputy Martinez stepped forward, badge glinting under the buzzing lights. His voice cut the air. Brenda Kensington Walsh, you're under arrest for embezzlement, mail fraud, and witness intimidation. The metallic snap of handcuffs echoed like a gunshot. 43 neighbors sat in stunned silence as Brenda's perfect facade cracked, her shriek echoing through the hall. You'll regret this. Property values will crash without me. And Mrs. Bennett sweet. 80-year-old Mrs. Bennett stood up and said, calm as stone, honey, the only thing crashing here is your little criminal empire. The applause shook the walls. Closing line lesson. Brenda thought fear would keep us quiet. But when neighbors stand together, no clipboard tyrants sense a chance.